I'm looking at some of my buddies who are billionaires on Twitter or X, and they are know-it-alls about everything. It's not only they made money in one category, but they're know-it-alls on everything, and they're opining all their great wisdom on Twitter. And I'm thinking to myself, you may not know everything, okay? And we're losing our faith in the institutional process, Billy, the checks and balances, the decentralization. We're starting to believe our own BS. Our elites are concentrating as it relates to power. They're concentrating as it relates to smugness and arrogance. And this is outside of the process that has made us very prosperous. And it's got me really, really worried. Return to the roots of the country, the decentralized nature of the government, return to that we're all slaves to the law in order to be free. We have to subordinate ourselves to the process. Don't allow arrogance to have one or two people supersede the other people where they think that they're better or they know more than the other people because, it's like Lincoln said, the American people, they can smell, they have a good nose. Trust the American people. Let's get away from this sort of elitism and back into something that's more pluralistic.
Yeah, what I just don't understand is the elasticity, or at least the perceived elasticity of a party. Isn't you would think with all of the even moderate Republicans that are so afraid of Donald Trump that they side with everything he does. You would think it does lasting damage to the party. Like what's happening here, you're never going to be able to return. And I guess the Republican, are people not interested in returning to a nice center right, moderate, respectable party that I don't know that I remember. I don't, you don't have to always have agreed with Republicans, but at least they were, it was a different party. There seemed to be
More cooperation.
more respect. George W. Bush wrote a President's Day column about he will never speak about a president, a sitting president. As a former president, he won't come out and break that rule But he wrote, and anyone who read it, he wrote about George Washington and about respect and about his stepping away when it was easy to consolidate power and to become an authoritarian or to run for. He wanted the system was greater than him, a reverence for the office like that, and it was clearly his way. In my opinion, I haven't asked him, and I wouldn't put him in that position, but of rebuking what we're seeing right now. Is there not a lasting damage here? Are people like Mike Johnson and even John Thune, who may not like him underneath, saying, yeah, but, people have short-term memories, and frankly, we'll be able to put it right back. Soon as the Democrats take power and screw up one time, we're back, and our voice is fine, and people forget.
Well, I mean, listen, we have short attention span in our society now, so some of that is true. You do remember this, that the most Googled search on the evening of the election was, did Joe Biden drop out? So you do know there's a lot of Americans that are not super tuned into the political system the way you and I are, or perhaps your viewers and listeners are. But I will say something that I think you perhaps believe. There is permanent damage. There is existential damage. There is if we're not careful, no going back. We're going to have some type of superstar political leadership that's post-partisan and transformative if we keep going in this direction to try to curve us back to something more normal. The trajectory right now is not a good trajectory. It's more tribalism, it's more gerrymandering, it's more isolated extremist politics on both sides. And that generally has not been good for the American people. Listen, I mean, there was a way to avoid the Civil War. We ended up in it. There was a way to avoid the Great Depression. We ended up in it. The Treaty of Versailles was a disaster. And if you remember, the Senate never ratified that treaty. We never entered the League of Nations. We put up too much reparations against the vanquished at the end of the First World War. Helped to instigate the Depression and helped to instigate the Second World War. We did get it right at the end of that war, and we set up a fairly consistent rules-based society for most people. The people behind the Iron Curtain didn't do well, but generally the other people in the West did. But that's the time we're at that inflection point again. We're at the crosshairs where we've got to get people thinking about this, not from left or right, but what is right or wrong for the society. And so I don't know too many rationalists in the middle that are sitting here beating the drum for another Middle Eastern war. 25 years of adventurism in the Middle East, 25 years of potential regime change. None of it went well. We have to be objective about it. We exploded the deficit. Millions of people died. Tens of thousands of Americans were either killed or wounded or traumatized by the wars. And talk about regime change. We went 20 years in Afghanistan, and we went from the Taliban to the Taliban. 20 years in Afghanistan. And so missile strikes, is that going to change a 50-year-old theocracy in the oldest civilization? Remember, these are Persians. They're not Arabs. They're on the other side of the Gulf. This is a 5,000-year civilization, right? Iran is the land of the Aryans. Iran of Aryans, okay? Totally different group of people, totally different culture. Even if you are against the Ayatollah, and even if you are against the regime, and let's say that most middle of the road centrists in Iran are, when you're dropping bombs out of the sky and you're killing people like in schools, and you're bombing a girls' school where 51 innocent young girls die, it's not a good set of facts for the people that are perpetrating that. Now, I get it. Israel feels an existential threat. It's in their constitution to wipe out Israel and to export their theocracy. I get that. But it's not an existential threat to America. And
But
I
why? I mean,
think
if you listen to Tucker Carlson, he'll tell you without question, we are so beholden to Israel, and he can't figure out why no U.S. president has ever stood up to them. They're a small country who wields an enormous amount of power, and that this is all Bibi Netanyahu's doing. And obviously, I know it's, he was emboldened and decided on October 7th, 2023, he was going to finish the job no matter what. And he had all the support and then lost all this, support withers away as people lose stomach. But, this is definitely his doing, but we are supporting him in a way that I don't think we figured out how it goes. I mean, no Gulf state, no surrounding countries are really going to join Iran, and so there's no damage. The only thing that could happen is a larger power in the world joins Iran in either clandestinely or openly, and then you got a problem.
so. So, Billy, I want to end with this because I've got to hop. I want you to just think about this for a second, okay? We have no plan. And this is classic Trump. You've
That's
known Trump for multiple decades. I'm in the mess. I have no plan to get out of the mess.
And keep in
I
mind, the
have
chairman
no
of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, leaked to 3 different newspapers saying, don't do this.
right. And we're out of munitions, by the way. So we have a couple of weeks worth of munitions. And so I have no plan if China enters it. I have no plan if Russia enters it. I have no plan. So I just sit here with you today as a fellow concerned American. It's one thing about the war, but I hope you got my messaging about the macro. We're in trouble